So ChatGPT, right. Everyone's talking about it. Right. Like it's going to change how we do, well, everything.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of people really want to know is, can we trust it for serious stuff, like research?
Yeah, and that's smart, right? Because just because everyone's hyped about something doesn't mean it's actually ready for prime time.
Totally. So that's why we're doing this deep dive specifically on ChatGPT, this thing called bibliometric analysis.
Right, right. Because that's the thing about ChatGPT. It's like suddenly everyone's an expert, you know, but when it comes to actual research.
Can we trust it?
Exactly. And bibliometric analysis is, well, it sounds intimidating, but really it's just.
It's like data-driven research about research.
There you go. It's like looking at the big picture of a whole field of study. Who's publishing what are the big questions, are people working together, where are the trends going, that kind of thing.
So you need a tool that can handle a lot of information.
A lot, yeah, and make sense of it. And that's what this paper we're looking at, how trustworthy is ChatGPT. The Case of Bibliometric Analyses, they really put it to the test. Like, they gave ChatGPT actual research tasks.
Using real databases.
Right, not just some made-up stuff. They used Scopius and Web of Science, which are
huge, like gigantic libraries of academic articles.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about, can ChatGPT do what a human researcher can do with this data?
And I'm guessing from the title of that paper alone that things did not go well.
Well, let's just say it's a good thing they put that question mark in there, you know? How trustworthy is ChatGPT?
Okay, so hit me with it. How badly did it fail?
All right, so in one case, they asked ChatGPT to look at research on turmeric, you know, the spice and wound healing. They told it to use the Scopios database. And ChatGPT comes back and says there are 246 research articles on the topic.
Okay, sounds possible. I don't know. I'm not a turmeric scholar.
Right. But here's the thing. The actual number of articles, according to the database, is over 1,200.
Whoa. Okay, that's not just a little off. That's like missing a lot of research.
Exactly. We're talking a difference of like over 1,000 articles. Imagine thinking you had a handle on a research area and you were missing that much information.
Yeah, that's not great. So, okay, ChatGPT, strike one, you're giving us bad data. But it gets worse.
Yeah.
Tell me it's not just the numbers.
Well, it's not just the numbers. ChatGPT also messed up when it had to figure out, like, who the leading authors in this area were and which countries were doing the most research.
Oh, no. So it's not just inaccurate. It's like giving us the wrong experts, too.
Yeah, like imagine you're trying to get up to speed on a whole field and ChatGPT is sending you down the wrong path.
Okay, so that's concerning. But the researchers, they didn't just, like, stop there, did they? They wanted to know why this was happening.
Right, like, is this a ChatGPT problem? Is it a bibliometric analysis problem? What's going on?
So what did they find?
Well, they actually pinpointed some pretty big shortcomings in how ChatGPT works, at least when it comes to this kind of research. First, it couldn't really handle real-time information, like the research databases, they're constantly updating, new stuff coming in all the time. But ChatGPT was working with, like, a snapshot in time.
So basically working with outdated information. For research, that's a no-go.
Pretty much. And then second, reliability, or, well, lack of it, really.
Oh, no, don't tell me.
Sometimes the information it was giving was just flat out wrong.
What? Like making stuff up?
Yeah, even inventing references.
It was just making stuff up.
Yeah.
Okay, AI can be weird, but inventing citations is a whole other level.
Yeah, it's not great. And it really gets at this issue of, like, how do we know what to trust, especially when AI can sound so convincing?
Okay, so 2 strikes against ChatGPT. Outdated info, making stuff up. What was the final straw? 2 strikes against ChatGPT. Outdated info, making stuff up. What was the final straw?
Yeah, so the third problem they found was with what they called synthesis. Basically, ChatGPT could give you, like, the data, the numbers, whatever, but it couldn't really tell you what it all meant.
Okay, so it's like it can give you the pieces of a puzzle, but it doesn't know how to put them together and see the bigger picture.
Right, exactly. And that's a pretty big deal for something like bibliometric analysis, where the whole point is to, like, find the trends, figure out who the big players are, draw some conclusions.
So it's good at repeating information, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe sounding smart while it does it, but not understanding what it's saying?
Yeah, and that's a crucial difference there, especially with research. But honestly, it makes you wonder, is this just a bibliometric analysis problem, or could ChatGPT be making things up in other areas too?
Right. Like if it's inventing sources for this,
Yeah.
what else is it inventing?
Yeah, and that's what's got people worried, right? Because these large language models, they learn by looking at tons and tons of text, and sometimes they get things wrong.
Well, sure, we all make mistakes. But it's different when a machine makes a mistake, right? Because it could be repeating that mistake over and
Or
over.
over to potentially millions of people.
Exactly. And with ChatGPT, it's like, is it just misinterpreting something or is it just making stuff up to fill in the gaps?
And that's the thing, it can be really hard to tell. Like, it's one thing if it says the sky is purple, we know that's wrong.
Right, we can double check that.
But what if it's something more subtle? What if it's just slightly twisting the facts or making connections that aren't really there?
So it's like that friend who tells a good story,
Yeah.
but they always add a few details to make it more interesting.
Except those details could be totally made up. And you might not know unless you're really, really familiar with the topic.
Right. And how often do we have the time to fact check every single thing ChatGPT spits out?
Exactly. So that's the challenge, right? We need to be critical. We need to be aware that this is still a tool. And like any tool, it can be misused.
So let's say I'm a researcher and I really want to use ChatGPT. What are your best practices for doing so responsibly?
Okay, well, first of all, remember, it's a tool. It's not a replacement for you. You're the expert. ChatGPT is just there to help you.
So I shouldn't just copy and paste whatever it gives me.
Laughs. Probably not a good idea, no. Always double check everything. Does it make sense based on what you already know?
Okay, so use your own judgment.
Yes. And watch out for anything that seems too good to be true.
Or just like off in any way.
Exactly. And especially those citations. Always double check those.
Because they could be fake.
They could be. Or they could be real citations that have nothing to do with what ChatGPT is saying. You never know.
Okay, so it's all about being careful, using it to help you, not replace you.
Right, augmenting your abilities, not automating them away.
I like that. But all this talk about AI's limitations, it makes you wonder, like, what about the future? Will AI ever be able to handle all this, or will we always need that human touch?
It's tricky, right? Because on the one hand, AI is getting really good at certain things, like I said, finding patterns and tons of data. That's definitely useful for research, no question.
But it's not the whole story.
Right. And I think that's what's easy to forget when you see all these headlines about how AI is going to revolutionize everything. We can get so caught up in the hype that we forget. AI is a tool, like any tool.
And you got to use the right tool for the job.
Exactly. You wouldn't use a hammer to, like, saw a piece of wood in half, would you?
Not unless you were having a very frustrating day.
Laughs. Right. So I think for research, the real potential for AI is in augmentation, not replacement.
There's that word again. Augmentation, not automation. I'm going to get that tattooed on myself.
There you go. Because imagine, instead of replacing researchers, AI gives researchers superpowers. Like, what if AI could analyze all that data and flag the most promising avenues, the stuff humans might miss?
So it's like giving researchers a super-powered research assistant, one that never sleeps, drinks way too much coffee, and highlights all the most interesting things in the data.
There you go. That's the dream, right? AI doing what it's good at so humans can do what they're good at.
Which is?
Asking the big questions, thinking critically, being creative, and making sure, the research is actually used for good. That's where the human element, the ethical judgment comes in.
So it's not about humans versus AI, it's humans and AI working together.
Exactly. And that's why I think these conversations, these deep dives are so important.
Because the more informed we are, the better decisions we can make.
Right, about how we use these tools, how we develop these tools, all of it.
Consider this your crash course in responsible AI use.
Exactly.
So, big takeaway for our listeners today. What do you want them to remember about ChatGPT and the future of research?
I think it's all about staying engaged, staying informed, staying curious. Because AI is a powerful tool, no doubt about it. But like any powerful tool.
It can be used for good or, well, not so good.
Exactly. So we need to understand the limitations, we need to ask the tough questions, and we need to be aware of the potential consequences.
I love that. So huge thanks to the researchers who put ChatGPT to the test.
Yes.
And to you, dear listener, for joining us on this wild ride through the world of AI and bibliometric analysis. Until next time, keep asking those great questions.